I made a mistake this last weekend, and that was to start this book over here when I had a full day of adulting planned where I could not technically read it without being rude. So I started it, I read for 10 minutes, had to put it away, and it was pure torture the rest of the day because I could not think of how this story, how it started, could it ever end with a happily ever after and not a lot of trauma. Before I dive into the story and the series that I'm talking about, hi, I'm Chantel. I am the face behind the channel Fairly Bookish. I talk about fairy tales, fantasy, myths, historical fiction. It's all low to no spice, mostly fade to black at best. And if you are looking for that kind of content, you enjoy those kinds of stories, this is your channel. Click like, subscribe, whatever you need to do, and let's chat in the comments about some of your favorite stories. Now, back to the series. So, I think sometime last year I was reading a multi-author collaboration, a series of a bunch of different authors coming together with an overarching theme. It was called The Shattered Tales. And the book I read there was a Sleeping Beauty retelling where there was some second chance. It was a little bit different because the tales were kind of fragmented. They didn't go exactly how the story was expected to go. And I really got hooked on this author. So I already had a book, The Legends of Neverland, on my Kindle that I've been sitting on for a little while. So as soon as I finished The Shattered Tales to Defy a Dream by Mary Meckham, I dove right into Neverland. And I have to say, I have been very, very, very hooked on these stories ever since. So the first book is a villainous Peter Pan retelling. Now, I feel like in general there's very mixed feelings on if Peter Pan is a hero or is he a villain. People have kind of different thoughts about this, and I have to say that I agree that it really depends on how you write him, how you redeem him, because there's a lot of things that he does that are just not really great. In this story, at least yet, Peter Pan is not redeemable. He makes a lot of really bad choices, and he knows what he's doing, and he does it maliciously. And eventually it catches up to him. And this is the story of Peter Pan, the villain, the supervillain, and Captain Hook, who becomes the hero of the story. I loved the unique take on this. I have read probably a handful, 5, maybe 6 different Peter Pan retellings, and they are all so different. From a non-magical version by Annette Larson to Brittany Fitcher's kind of high fantasy version of the story where it was 3 books to get through the story and where Peter Pan does have a very good redemptive arc to his story. I did love that as well. But this one is almost more about Captain Hook and Tinkerbell than it is about Peter Pan. He is a very important character in the story, but this is Hook and Tinkerbell's story, and it is alternately really, really difficult and so adorable and hilarious, all wrapped in one, which is one of the reasons why I love Mary's books. By the time I finished that, I was really ready for Siren, and I started it and got partway through it, and my Kindle Unlimited subscription was gone. So I had to wait about 7 months before I could finish it. And wow, that one was intense. It was a whirlwind of the story. There was a lot going on. There was a lot of conflict. And you didn't know until the very last second what that heroine was going to do, what choice she was going to make. But the ending was just so sweet. The characters are rough and tough and strong, and they deserve that happiness at the end, and it really, really made me happy. But it also nodded to the next book, book 3, and I have been so worried to read this book because I knew this was going to be another one where I probably was going to be holding on my seat to try to figure out how it was going to end. In the third book, it's a villainous Goose Girl retelling. In this book, unlike most, the story that I'm familiar with the Goose Girl is the princess is innocent and good and kind, and she's taken advantage of by greedy people. In this story, that is not what happens. The princess is not a good person. She is pretty evil. And the handmaiden who is usurping her is a villain, but for correct reasons. She is trying to fight for the freedom and the safety of her people. And it's very complicated because can you do the right thing with wrong reasons, and can you do the wrong thing for right reasons? And that's kind of the comparison that we are getting between Korth and Dahlia, the main characters in this story. Korth is very solid. We met him in Sirens, and he is not willing to like bend the rules or think outside the box. If it's by the book, he'll probably do it. If it's not by the book, well, good luck with that, because he's gonna stick straight. He's a straight arrow. And in this story, that is very challenging for him, because he starts to realize that there are situations where things aren't exactly black and white. And if you're a person who feels most comfortable when things are black and white, that can be a really terrifying discovery. And I think it was for Korth. But one of the things I loved about this was we have so many male characters who are really tough, warrior type people, but that's not Korth. He is strong, he's determined, he's smart, he's loyal, but he's awkward, nerdy, and a little bit quiet, which is something different than almost anyone that I've read who has been cast in a really main figurehead position such as Korth. I loved this kind of character. I loved seeing a way to let all kinds of personalities shine, because let's be honest, most of us know a quiet, nerdy, steady, loyal man who is the hero in many stories, but a lot of people don't take notice because they're looking for the bold, brash, and outspoken people in life to kind of be the heroes. And sometimes that's not how it is. Sometimes it's the quiet ones who are really making the difference. This was a heartbreaking story. The whole time you're reading it, you know that this love story is a setup for failure. Like, there's no way it's going to work seamlessly. Of course not. She's pretending to be somebody else. He has no idea. She's trying to start a war to free her people, but she can't exactly tell him what she's doing because, well, she'd end up in jail. And, well, she may end up there anyways. She's just trying to buy enough time to get the support that her people need to be free. There were so many really adorable things in this book. I don't want to spoil it for you, but by the time you get to the very end and things are starting to look up, they're not perfect. There is a consequence for the choices that she made, and it is fitting. It's fair. I think it was a really clever way to redeem her without like just giving her a free pass. But at the very end, there is a moment that the whole book is worth waiting for, and yeah, I laughed a lot, and I think that's a great way to end the book, is to really find that one moment after a whole whirlwind of emotions and a little bit of trauma and almost having a heart attack because you think, well, this isn't going to work out and then nobody's going to not make it, right? And then at the end you get the happily ever after and a little bit of funniness to go with it. So if you have not read this series, start with Hook's story and read Siren, and now coming on September 13, you can binge read the whole thing and read Korth's story as well, because I can tell you after Siren you're going to want to read this one. And I'm already like so excited about the 5th and the 6th book. Can't say anything about them yet, but I got a sneak peek the other day and it's going to be really, really awesome, and you're going to love those too. Until next time, keep reading, and if you have a favorite Goose Girl retelling that I have not read before or that you think I should read or should feature on my channel, pop it in the comments below. I would love to talk this with you. It's one of the stories I don't think there's that many of, and I would love to expand my TBR.